All right, so we're talking about how you can utilize coordinates and data in the real world. So Cartesian coordinate systems can be used to organize data. So we can use them to graph points, we can use them for a bunch of different things. So by organizing them, skipping down here to page 4, by organizing information on a Cartesian coordinate system, you begin to see patterns and trends. So if it says, if the x-axis, so I'm going to draw a graph, so the x-axis represents the day of the month, and the y-axis represents the temperature, write the ordered pairs for the data below. So it says the third day, so day 3, so that'd be 3, and a temperature of 15 degrees, so 3, 15, would represent that point. So a low temperature of 22 degrees on the 7th day would be the ordered pair. Remember, our x's were our days, so that'd be day 7, and it was 22 degrees, so that would be our ordered pair. There would be 722. Moving on to the next page. When we graph points, we often graph what are called scatter plots. And scatter plots have 3 different types of correlation. They have positive correlation, which looks like this. Their data points are going up. We have negative correlation, which means their data points are going down. And we have no correlation. And no correlation is where our data points are literally scattered all over the place. There is no trend there. Another word for correlation, by the way, is trend or pattern. So if we're looking at these graphs, we've got to figure out which direction they're going. Well, this first one, the years of education versus your income, it is going up, so it's going to have a positive correlation. When I look at the next one, its data is going down, so it's going to have a negative correlation. When we read graphs, we always read from right to left. When I look at the third one, the dice roll and your age, there's no correlation whatsoever because there's no pattern, so there's no correlation here. And the last one, our total cells, well, if you were to follow these dots, they're going up, so they're going to have a positive correlation. The data points on a graph that have positive correlation tend to go up and to the right. The data points on a graph that have negative correlation tend to go down. Let's try that again. Down and to the right. And data points on a graph that have no correlation appear to be completely scattered. So the value measured on the horizontal axis, which is our x-axis, if you'll recall, is the independent variable. And the value measured on the vertical axis, or the y-axis, is the dependent variable. And the question is, why is it called the dependent variable? Well, y is dependent because it depends on the x variable. Whatever x is will determine what exactly y is. So several of these questions here are not going to necessarily help us because we're not using apex, so we're going to skip down to 13. So we have what's called a line of best fit or a trend line. It's another name for it. That will always go through the middle of the data points. So if you have a scatter plot and it has points on there, and these points may be straight line, they may have a little bit of a curve to them, but there is always what we call a trend line or a line of best fit that we can draw that approximates these data points. So this would be an example of a trend line, this blue line that I've just drawn. And we utilize this trend line to help us make our predictions and make approximations about what's going to happen later on. When the data points are not on that line of best fit, then we say that they tend from it. So moving on to our checkup. Number 1 asks us to, or we have this table that gives us the temperature data recorded in the table. We're supposed to utilize this to help us answer these questions. So it's showing a week and the high and the low temperature. So it says, what would be the ordered pair for the week 7 high temperature? So if we're just worried about the high temperature, then we can ignore this column. Do not mark it out because you're going to need it. But for now, we can ignore this column right here, the low column. Again, don't mark it out. So the week 7 high temperature would be the ordered pair 7, 90. For number 3, what would be the ordered pair for the week 4 high temperature? Well, going up here to week 4, it says the high temperature was 95, so it'd be the ordered pair 4, 95. So our next question, number 5, says what would be the ordered pair for the week 10 low temperature? So this time we want the low so we can ignore our high temperature. And it tells us week 10 low was 51, so it would be the ordered pair 10, 51. For numbers 6 through 10, we're supposed to use this December temperature data recorded to answer the questions that are given below. So they've again given us some ordered pairs, some tables about the high and low temperatures in the month of December. So it asks us, number 7, what would be the ordered pair for the day 1 low temperature? So we're going to figure out what day 1 low is. So we know it's going to be 1, and if we look at day 1, it tells us our low temperature was 5 degrees. So it would be the ordered pair 1, 5. And number 9, what would be the ordered pair for the day 7 high temperature? Well, remember, high was our column on the right, and low was our column, high was our column on the left, and low was our column on the right. So the high temperature for day 7 was 26, so it would be the ordered pair 7, 26.